All right, before we get started with this video, there's a few of you guys who hit me up saying that Splice is no good. They are not royalty free because you ended up with a content ID claim, or if you tried to put it on Instagram and they removed it. It's not a Splice issue. Splice is royalty free, but it's a content ID issue with who the distributor of the song was. So if you use like BeatStars and you added the content ID on it, or if you use like TuneCore, or if you use DistroKid and you did not whitelist it, that's the issue. It's not the royalty-free sample from Splice or wherever you got it from. So let's get to the video.
Bolo!
All right, listen, if you do not have an account yet, go ahead and get you one with Splice. Splice is the #1 place to get loops so you guys can go ahead and feel inspired to make some beats even when you're not inspired. It's a great place. It's a tool that I've used for a long time. I actually have my own Splice account that I pay for every single month. I have the lowest account where you get like 100 samples every single month, and I still have like an extra 4,000 samples or like credits that I can still use because I only use maybe like sometimes no credits a month, so all the way up to like 15, 20 credits a month. And the credits roll over month after month. So if you only use one credit, then the other 99 will roll over and you'll get like another 100 credits, and then now you'll have 199. So it's a good thing. Splice has helped me out a lot. I use Splice, and it's something that I think will help you guys out as well. And it is royalty free. Yes, it is royalty free. If you need something to get you started, Splice is the way to go, and it's actually pretty cool. So go ahead and click that link in the description and get your Splice account. All right, so quick story time before we actually get into this. So the other day, I actually made a track, and I posted a track on all my social media, and yeah, go ahead and check it out real quick.
Bolo! 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 Bolo!
Wasn't too bad. Yeah, so the sample in there is actually from Splice, and I actually caught up with the guy who actually made the sample, and I'm gonna have him probably send me some more stuff. But I like the stuff that he has on Splice, and I want to make a beat behind it. But then, lo and behold, there's always a super hater. Now, it's haters all the time on these videos that say stuff, and it's all good. But then you get the ones sometimes to where you just gotta kind of find out who they are. So this guy actually came in my DM and was like, that's a Splice loop. So many people have used that loop. You're not original. There's no originality to the song. There's nothing. It's trash. It's crazy how people use these loops, and everybody's reusing the loops, and it's just horrible for hip hop. So you know what I did? I found out who he was, and I went to his page, and lo and behold, I found out that this guy makes beats too. They were all trash. The beats were trash. But come to find out, he samples. But he actually samples like songs, popular songs from like James Brown. I think he had a Dionne Warwick. He had a Prince sample, which that's not getting cleared, or the Dionne Warwick sample's not getting cleared. And he had, I think, like another sample from one of them funk bands or something like that. All these samples that he had, and he was actually like trying to lease these samples, and the samples are not royalty free, but he was trying to monetize from it. But I don't think anybody bought them because they were all whack. But what I'm trying to say is, this guy was getting on me for using loops, but he felt that it was perfectly okay to use other people's copyrighted material that is not royalty free. But in this situation, I'm in the wrong. Am I tripping? I don't think so. But that's the big issue I have, because a lot of people are talking about loops and saying, oh, loops is not the real way of hip hop and it's destroying the game. And so many people using the same loops and everything sounds the same. But last time I checked, hip hop was built on samples. Because, you know, it all started with the DJs from New York in the 70s where they used to have block parties. And during the block parties, they would play popular songs. And during those popular songs, they would have break beats in those popular songs where it'll just be nothing but the instrumental and it'll just be a break beat where everybody can move, dance, and do what they want to do. And that became popular. And then a lot of times there would be local guys who would rap over those break beats live. Then over time, people started making songs from those break beats. And then lo and behold, in the early 80s, the sampler comes out to where you can sample a couple seconds of something. And man, that was it. You can actually go in and sample some of your favorite songs and put them together. And the crazy part about it is they just wouldn't sample the songs, but they would sample the drums, which we all know some of the most iconic hip hop drums came from who? James Brown. And a few other drummers and a few other bands, but James Brown's drummer had one of the popular, well, the most popular breakbeat of all times, which I can't really play it right now, that a lot of people use on songs even to this day. But everybody's fine with that. And some people just didn't take bits and pieces of the drums out. They still use the whole break beat from it. You guys know what it is. Y'all let me know in the comments who it is. But y'all, some of the older guys know. But I have noticed that a lot of people feel that it's okay to do that type of sampling. Even though if you do sample it and get in place, you got to get that cleared. You got to go to the rights owner, get that cleared, sometimes pay a fee up front and get your publishing kind of just like wiped out. And some of these songs have been sampled a gazillion times. Like, you got to think, the Big Payback from James Brown. You gotta think a lot of the funk records from George Clinton has been sampled a gazillion times. A lot of these songs have been sampled and have to be cleared a lot of times to be used because a lot of these artists that are signed to labels were using these samples and they wanted to get them cleared. So they had to get them cleared by whoever the rights owner was, maybe the artist was, maybe the company was, whoever who owned the rights of it, they had to get that cleared. But now you have services where you have gazillions of loops from different people that are royalty free. You just have to pay like a monthly fee, which that monthly fee puts you in like a binding agreement saying that if you pay this fee, you can use any one of these samples royalty free. Doesn't mean you own the copyright, but it means that you own that sample to be used in your material royalty free. Because what happens is places like Splice who collect, this monthly money, what they do is whoever creates that sample on the site, if somebody downloads that sample, they pay them per how many times that sample has been downloaded. I don't know if they pay them by if it gets played, but I know they get paid by how many downloads and they get a piece of the cut from how many times that sample has been used or downloaded. Okay. And then from that point, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to give them any royalties or nothing like that, which is a game changer because now you can use samples without having to pay any royalties because they're getting their royalties from who they uploaded their loop to, which was Splice. Or maybe some of these other places. But if you buy a royalty-free kit from somebody, you're in an agreement saying, okay, if I paid this money and I use this, boom. Now, if you just got some loops from some of these loop makers and used it and then you try to use it and they came back, that's something totally different. But we're talking about royalty-free loops, specifically from like Splice. Okay? But people are all up in arms saying that's not real hip-hop. So many people are using the stuff, this, that, whatever. Yeah, I understand that, but so many people have used other people's records too. A gazillion times. There's some songs right now that's still being sampled that still have to be cleared. So why is everybody so upset over loops that are royalty free? That is actually helping out the producers and beat makers. Why is that? That is mind boggling. You actually have something that you can pay a monthly fee for. A monthly fee. sometimes less than $100 a year, and you get royalty-free samples, loops, effects, all that stuff, even some MIDI stuff to where you can change it. And you don't have to go through none of the hassle of dealing with getting it cleared or nothing like that. But people feel like, oh, it's okay to sample the old stuff, you know, the stuff that you can't get cleared. Some of y'all ain't got no money to get this stuff cleared. But then you'll bash people like me who like to use loops, royalty-free loops. And then another argument that people say is, man, but no, it's not royalty-free. And I'm like, why? And now, mind you, these are some people who I've had this conversation with on several occasions, and they still just don't get it. But they're like, oh man, I used a loop from Splice, and I tried to put it on my YouTube page, and then it sent back the copyright claim on it, saying that the money is going to be sent back to the copyright person. And I'm like, yeah. See, it's not royalty free. And then I ask them, I'm like, did you upload that track anywhere? Did you like upload it to like BeatStars or like TuneCore or DistroKid or, you know, one of these little aggregates or something like that? Yeah, I uploaded on BeatStars. Did you click that little button that says Content ID? Yeah, because, you know, if somebody uses it, I want to get paid. Oh, really? Then they'll be like, no, but, you know, it's my page. It's my YouTube page. And I'll be like, Content ID does not care about that. They only care about the song and where it's going to. That's it. Doesn't matter if it's your page or not, because they look at that as two separate entities, the song and where it's at. Now, if you did want to put that song on your page without that happening to you, you have to know about a thing or a term called whitelisting, which pretty much every service has, to where you can go ahead and allow whatever channel you're trying to put, or even Instagram or whatever, you can whitelist your places that you want the song to play, and nothing will happen. The song can play freely. You'll be fine. Everything will be great. But people who do music, for some reason, nobody wants to really do the research on that. And I'd probably do another video on whitelisting. It's pretty detailed. Well, really, it's not that detailed. It's just as simple as, like in DistroKid, you can go to goodies and go to settings and go to goodies, and you can go down and click a thing that says whitelist. And if you want to put that beat on your own YouTube page, you can just put your YouTube URL, and they'll allow that track to go on there without it doing like a YouTube copyright claim and all that stuff like that. And certain sites you can do it for your IG pages, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I put my song on a DistroKid and I can't even play it on my IG page. Yeah, because it's trying to pay the owner, which is you, which, you know, Instagram might not want to do that. You know what I'm saying? So they might say you cannot use this copywritten material. Or on YouTube, it might say we're going to pay the person who basically did the content ID on this, which is you. So if it did play, you would still get paid for it. But, you know, some of y'all are not thinking. You don't understand that it's still going to come back to you. But you can still whitelist your page as well, and, you know, you won't get nothing. So it's all good. But we'll do a whole nother video on that. But I want to ask you guys, what do you guys feel about royalty-free loops? Do you feel like everybody's using the same loops? To me, no, because I actually go through a lot of loops. And yes, if you see like them top 10 on Splice, of course you're going to click on those first, and they're pretty dope. But there's so much other stuff. So much other stuff you can use on Splice to make your beats with. And then once you take the loop, a lot of times what you guys do is just use the loop for what it is. You don't speed it up. You don't chop it up. You don't make it your own. You just use the loop and that's it. And sometimes I do it too. Don't get me wrong. If it sounds good, it sounds good. Oh, and another thing. Yeah. People are getting content ID claims because there's another producer that used your same loop and they put content ID on it, and they might have used the loop without changing it, and you might have gotten the same loop and you used it without changing it, and then it detected theirs first, and then they said, oh, you're using copywritten material. And you're like, nah, I used it from a royalty-free site. But Content ID does not understand that. They're just looking at who claimed the Content ID first at that point, which is an issue. That is an issue. That's something that I can't really fathom why stuff like that is happening. But basically, YouTube and all these places are basically trying to cover their butts from anything happening. There is a ton of Splice loops that are out here right now that are in popular songs, like "Beautiful Eyes" by Young Blue and Kalani. That is one of the most popular guitar loops on Splice. It's been out for years, and that is on that song right now. And it's a great song. They use Splice loop with that. Okay? Nobody complained about that, but you know, it is what it is. But if Bolo uses a loop, it's something different. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff that has to be worked out with the content ID and stuff like that with loops. I think that they're trying to find a method or a way to make it better. But other than that, it's still royalty free, because when I do have content ID stuff, you know, y'all know I do my beat reviews, and people send in loops and stuff all the time that they put their beats on, and I have to deal with that pretty much every single week, at least 3 or 4 tracks. And if it's like a loop that I know has been off Splice, I would just dispute that. Usually YouTube will go ahead and take care of it, and they'll give me my, you know, monetization, everything will be cool. Or if they're using like a James Brown or something that I know I can't get cleared, I'll just usually cut that segment out, because I want to get my monetization, and I don't want it to go to somebody I don't, you know, really know like that. And then, you know, a lot of these guys will take samples and loops and then put it through the content ID process, and it just becomes a mess like that. And then, am I a fan of content ID? I am, because I understand how it works for me. It works out very good for me. But on the flip side of that, it's kind of weird how it kind of works, because it just detects the first thing, and it doesn't really have a way of distinguishing between all the other stuff out there. So that is an issue. But either way, if, you know, you guys are sampling like popular records that have been out for years, you still have to deal with all of that mess with the publishing and stuff. So I'm still trying to figure out why people are like so up in arms about me using royalty-free loops. Like, I don't get it. I really don't. Like, what makes a difference? Like, hip hop was built off of using loops and using samples, basically. So, I don't know. Let me know if I'm tripping. You know, if I'm not, you know, let me know as well. And I hope this video was informative. I'm going to do another video on the whitelisting and all that stuff like that too. But, you know, let me know if this video helps you out. And let me know what are your thoughts on using loops versus using the traditional sampling way. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys learned something from it. And like I always say, peace out.